Hello, it is Direct Mail, Monday, August 26th, 2019. Steve Sipress here, not wearing my customary ugly red Hawaiian shirt. Instead, today, I'm wearing a Milwaukee Brewers t-shirt, actually from last year's division championship season, in honor of my recently passed beloved father-in-law, Jerry Fabry, who loved his Milwaukee Brewers, and he left us about 4 months ago. I think it's 4 months ago tomorrow or the next day, and yesterday would have been his 76th birthday, and I'm going to guess that he might have spent it at Miller Park in Milwaukee watching his beloved Brewers. And, you know, when I thought about it, and maybe you can tell from the background here in my office, besides the jumbled mess and or the rhinos, a bunch of New York Mets paraphernalia. That's my beloved New York Mets baseball team. And as far as I know, this is the first time I have ever worn a t-shirt of any Major League Baseball team. The only t-shirt I've worn it before. This is the only t-shirt I've ever worn any baseball team in the major leagues other than my beloved New York Mets, and I do that in honor of my late father-in-law, Jerry Fabry. So let's get right to it here on Direct Mail Monday. I asked the question, how many different fonts should you use in one letter? Now, the experts vary on this. You can read Shrunken Whites or whatever other expert guides there are for newspaper. I believe that's the one I used. I was the editor of my newspaper back in grade school and again in college and on and on. And then, of course, I built a multi-million-dollar business where I produced an average, I believe, about 3 or 4 newsletters a week. So it was a whole newsletter business, basically. So Shrunken Whites, I think that was the definitive guide back then in the days of newspaper writing. But I'm not talking about what your high school English teacher would think. And I'm not talking about what the New York Times or the Washington Post or USA Today or any of those would think. I'm not talking about what is generally accepted proper use of fonts. I'm talking about in marketing, in advertising, in sales, particularly in direct response marketing, affectionately known to those of us members of Planet Dan, named in honor of the great copywriter and direct response marketer and direct response teacher, my number one mentor in direct response, Dan Kennedy. Now I forgot what I said at the beginning of that sentence, but anyway, I'm talking about a sales letter written for the purpose of selling, marketing, communicating. And in that sense, maybe I'm giving it away, but you might know Dan Kennedy, who had several retreats called the Renegade Millionaire Retreat. He wrote books and had courses about it. He was always a big fan, and he was a big example of being a renegade. So, of course, being a great student of Dan's and passing along his knowledge to thousands of business owners myself, I teach my entrepreneur and business owner clients similar way that Dan taught me to be a renegade, to not follow the rules. Dan is famous for saying whatever the majority believes is wrong. And so should you use 2 fonts? No more than 2 fonts, I think, is what the experts will say. Jeremy Danley is here. Great seeing you. Let's count, shall we? Now, I went through a bunch of my old stuff, and you should all have as well a swipe file. This does not mean something you stole from somebody or something you're going to use to steal from those authors and writers and producers of material, but something to use to model, something for inspiration, something to use as a template, and then you make it your own. So, of course, a large portion, tons of stuff in my swipe files, give me inspiration and ideas, and once in a while I can pull content right out of there and then make it my own. is Dan Kennedy stuff. And I was going to share a rather long sales letter. I think it was, I don't remember, I think it was 20 pages or so for an event that Dan hosted years ago. And then I said, let's not be on here all night on my direct mail Monday daily live video. Hey, thank you for the likes and the shares and comments and questions. I'll take all those questions at the end, but let's go right to it. This is a 4-page letter as an insert to a longer letter slash brochure slash invitation, a piece mailed out by what used to be the Glazer Kennedy Insider Circle. And when Adam Whitty bought it last year, he renamed it, I believe, the No BS Insider Circle. Or Adam Whitty built from scratch a fantastic multi-million-dollar business called Advantage. And so maybe it's the Advantage No BS group. I don't see the name of the group on here. That is lesson number 1, by the way. Not only should the name of your company not be at the top of your letterhead. Again, the majority, what everyone does, is wrong. So probably 99% of businesses feed their own ego instead of their pocketbook and their bank account, and they put the name of their company at the top of their letterhead or their logo. Cut it out. I can't even find the name of the company or the oh, here's the logo. So I found a logo on page 3, but I cannot even find the actual name of the company anywhere in the 4 pages. So there's a bonus lesson for you on top of the number of fonts. You don't even need the name of your business anywhere. Nobody cares about the name of your business. Name of your business doesn't sell anything. All people care about is what you can do for them. They care about their own name, but their name somewhere near the top. In this case, it says friend. But if it was not a mass mailing, it'd have my name near the top. However, at the top, of course, goes a headline. Headline goes to the top of everything. Whether you're doing an ad, a letter, an email, and an email is known as the subject line. Whether you're meeting someone in person, on a business card, on a brochure, every single thing you do, a postcard, anything at all, needs to have a headline on the top. You need to grab someone's attention, and you need to pull them in to the rest of what's known as your copy, your words, your message. Those are the 2 jobs, the 2 purposes of a headline. Get their attention, break through the clutter, even if they got this in the mail in a big envelope. That's why it's not even folded. It was in a big envelope with a bunch of stuff about this event. And then this letter was in there. And even though the letter's in there and I pick it up, doesn't mean I'm going to read it. When's the last time you picked up a magazine or a newspaper and you read every single article? Of course we don't. We scan the headlines. And if the headline compels us, then we start reading the article. And if the article is interesting and pulls us in, then we continue reading it. So that's the job of the headline. Get their attention, make them stop, look at that, and then decide. And you want to decide for them. You want to practically force them, compel them, because you know deep down how they're feeling emotionally, and you grab them by the emotions and offer a solution to their emotional pain if they'll just read this letter. That's the headline. So you need a headline, of course, the top of everything. And a headline, by the way, in case you didn't notice, is not your name, your logo, the name of your company, or any other useless, worthless BS. Okay, end of bonus lesson. Let's get to the question at hand. How many different fonts should you use in one letter? Let's see Dan Kennedy. Headline, there's one font. Then the word from, a different font. Then Dan S. Kennedy, underlined in another font. Then there's the word urgent in another font. Then there's this first paragraph or sub-headline. I guess a post-headline you call it. If it was a pre-headline, it would say attention on the top. Post-headline, I'm not copywriters probably have official names for all this stuff and know what it's called. Let's just call it a post-headline or a sub-headline. And that's a different font. And then we have the body of the letter, and that's a different font. So right there, in the first 1/3 of the first page, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different fonts. But wait, there's more. We're not done yet. Let's continue on. Now, and by the way, we've also got 2 different colors right there in the headline. We've got words underlined. We've got his name underlined here. We've got right here, we're going to have an underline in bold. We're going to have short, first paragraph is a long paragraph. Then we're going to have short paragraphs. One sentence, one sentence, one sentence. By the way, if I was also critiquing the copy, which I am in no position to be critiquing Dan Kennedy's copy, but if I was even explaining it, and again, a top copywriter would tell you that this makes it easier to read, having one sentence, one idea, just a few words in the paragraph, and it helps to pull me through the copy, to put me on what's known as a slippery slope. See, I know that much about copywriting. The slippery slope that I pretty much, as soon as I get started here, as long as I get down to here, past the headline, grab me, read this for any business. Well, that's for me. I own a business. I got to read this. It's big, it's bold, it's red. Man, I got to read this. And then it's urgent. And to avoid commoditization, yeah, I want to avoid that, being seen as just another whatever kind of business I have. And I own several businesses, and I don't want any of them to seem like a commodity, and therefore to only sell on basically the lowest price, and nobody cares what brand of a commodity they use. I don't want to be like that. It'll avoid price destruction, like I just talked about, where you compete on price until you and your competitors are all out of business, and other evils, and to transform your customer, client, patient attraction marketing, and to elevate your status with customers, marketplace, and media. That's a lot of stuff. So I got to read this if I want to avoid these bad things, transform my marketing. That's not just, as I saw someone say, it's not just moving the furniture around in the room. It's doing a complete tear down makeover of the whole house, transformation. So for people whose marketing is not working well, this will transform it and elevate your status. And who doesn't want their status elevated? Because I'll give you a hint. The next thing happens after your status is elevated with customers, your prices get elevated. The customers will gladly pay. And the marketplace and media will see you better. And you'll have an easier time attracting more and better clients, patients, members, customers, whatever they are to your business. So, okay, I want to read this. Now, if in this first paragraph, Dan grabs me enough, I'll continue reading, and then it becomes pretty easy when there's one sentence, one sentence, one sentence, one sentence, becomes pretty easy. And now, before you know it, I'm on the slippery slope. I've now invested a couple of minutes reading this. I get down to the bottom, I'm very likely to turn the page and just invest a few more minutes, and it's likely that he's done things like opening loops and telling me, I'll promise I'll tell you that later, and I'll share that at the end, but first I have this. And again, I'm not critiquing the copy, just giving you an illustration from the great Dan Kennedy. And as you go through, then it becomes a pretty common thing. Like page 2 doesn't have those however many different fonts we all counted. It has one to break up the whole page. It has this subheadline there. Otherwise, it's got one font the whole way through. It's got a little image that helps break up the page and draw attention and get involvement, and people keep reading. And then starts up again with another different font up there, and then the logo of the event. Finally, there's a logo there. And then there's 2 different colors, but really just one font again, although it's bold, red, different colors. Now we've got yellow highlighting. Okay, are you getting my point? My point is, and then we'll, page 4 also, very just basic. One font the whole way through. It's got a signature for his name. We'll count that as another font. It's his signature. And I got some yellow highlighting and a little bold in it. The word guaranteed bolded draws my attention. and then the PSs and some bold there. And yeah, slightly different font also in the PS. So, I don't know, 8 or 10 different fonts, different colors, underlining, bold. By the way, different, different formatting, right? So the headline is not centered. Headline is flush left, but then the name is centered. That's kind of the opposite of anything you ever see, where you see the headline centered, and then you'll see the byline is left justified. But then this is a indented paragraph. Oh my goodness, I'm not up on the nomenclature of the whole thing. And then of course the bullet point list is flush left. And so you've got different stuff. And then this image is flush right. So you've got different formatting here. And then you got the subheadline is centered, right? And the logo and headline on this page is centered. But the main headline back in the front, remember, was not centered. So you've got various formatting, different centering. You got different colors. You got the yellow highlighting. You got bold. You got underlining. You got all different fonts in the first third of the page. However, I forget now, but we counted 6 or 8 or 10 different fonts up there. So all in all, in case you haven't noticed, the point of the whole thing, the bottom line is involvement. That it takes a lot more effort to read when you got all these jumbled formatting and fonts and colors, and that, which is why your high school English teacher would go cut that out. You got to make it easy to read. Dan Kennedy and anybody else that knows anything about marketing, advertising, sales would say, no, 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 no. What the heck do you want to do that for? Think about it. Think about it. You probably never have. You probably were brainwashed all through school by your English teachers who told you, no, one font and maybe one different one for the headlines and the subheadlines. But otherwise, you got to make this easy to read. Stop with the changing fonts mid-sentence and underlining and bolding. Cut that out. You're making it tough to read. Dan Kennedy and everyone else would tell you, you want to make it difficult to read. You want people to have to go, what was that again? Or, man, yeah, what? I can barely see. That's smaller, that's bigger, that's different for you, confusing me. I got to read it over and over. I got to read it again. I got to get involved with this thing, and therefore, I'm reading it. I'm digesting it. I'm reading it carefully. The danger, if you do what your high school English teacher, your Strunk and White's manual, or your New York Times, style guide, or whatever the heck rules you're following, would make it easy to speed read. Easy to scan. And for your high school English teacher, I hate to break it to you, but really easy for him or her to read. And isn't that their goal? You think their goal is to teach you, right? Oh, really? I hope you don't really think that. Their goal is just like just about every other worker, and since they're a government worker, it's extreme, is to do as little work as possible and get paid. Government workers are extreme on that end. Have you ever been to a library, a DMV, dealt with any government worker of any kind, school teacher? They want to read those, grade those papers in 2 seconds and be done with it. They want it easy to read. So, of course, for them, you want to get a good grade, you better do what they say and make it easy to read. You want to make money? You better make yourself a pain in the butt to read. Holy crap, this is difficult. It's taken me a while here. Well, guess what? If with all those different fonts, colors, indenting, bolding, underlining, whatever, I invested a long time just in reading that first third of the page. Holy crap, I just invested all that time. It was so difficult. Oh, it looks so much easier now. And I might open it and scan a little bit, go, it looks easier from now on, just one time. Well, I've invested all that time reading just the beginning here with the different fonts, colors, indenting, underlining, this, that, whatever. I'll just breeze through the rest, is what I think. But whether I think I'll breeze or not, the writer of the letter has got me. I've decided I will invest my time and effort into consuming this letter. So, bottom line, that's the lesson for Direct Mail Monday for today from the great Dan Kennedy. Make it somewhat difficult to read, especially in the beginning, to grab people in, to get them to subconsciously at least say, man, I've invested this much time and work and effort already. Doesn't look like that much more to invest to read the rest. And humans like to finish things. Now, as entrepreneurs, another advanced lesson, bonus lesson aside, entrepreneurs, we like to finish things, but we're not finishers. We're entrepreneurs. So that's why we hire people and we get other people to finish things. We're starting things. We have ADD, of course, so we're always starting something new and getting distracted by another shiny object. And if we want anything finished, we got to get it to somebody to finish it. But normal human beings, and even us, we like the feeling of finishing something. So if I put in all that effort to start it, man, I want to go through and finish it. Makes sense? So make them put in some effort at the start. Make them put in some effort just to read the thing, just to engage with it, so they do not breeze through the most impactful part of your letter, which is the start. Your headline is probably, according to the experts, 70, 80, some say even up to 90% of the buying decision of the impact of your entire sales letter is made in the headline. So you spend most of your time, most of your effort putting together your headline. You want to make sure people engage with and read it. You don't want to make it easy to breeze right through it, or to breeze right through the subheadline, or breeze right through that first paragraph. That's, if you ask me, where Dan spent all the time. And then I can't get into his head, of course. I wouldn't even think about it, but I would think that one reason that the whole rest of the thing is just one font is because Dan didn't have to spend a lot of time on the rest of it. Spend all the time on the important part right at the beginning. Grab people in, and then, okay, now I don't have to mess around with the fonts and the this and the that and whatever. They're in, they're reading it. Let's just type it all out and be done with it. And if Dan really wanted to, I could share other examples of Dan where 16, 18, 20, 32-page sales letters filled with all different fonts and highlighting. He might have gone over and over and over and over. This one probably went over and over and over at the beginning, or for Dan, such a genius, probably wrote it fairly quickly and probably took a lot of it right from his own swipe file of stuff he or other master copywriters had written before, put it together, and he said the rest is the rest. So if you're wondering how to write a 4-page sales letter, don't worry about the 4 pages. Okay? What's tough is writing the first half of a page to grab people when they have 500 different channels of cable TV, 1 million different videos being uploaded onto YouTube every day, social media feeds scrolling by them 100 miles a minute with all kinds of things they want to see and do, and piles of everything pulling their attention away. You want to grab their attention. All your effort is focused on that first step, grabbing their attention. And for that, multiple colors, multiple fonts, haphazard, confused, jumbled formatting. In other words, go get the Strunk and Whites, go get the New York Times manual, go, I don't know, read your high school English textbook on how to properly put together a letter or a report, and then break all of those rules. Even easier, follow a genius like Dan Kennedy and follow all the rules that he teaches and that he's an example of. That's how you do it, folks. That's the lesson for today in honor of the great Dan Kennedy on Direct Mail Monday. Thanks, everyone, being here live. Thanks, everyone, watching on the replay. That'll do it for today. I'll be back tomorrow on Topical Tuesday. I will share something that is on people's minds, and I'll share a business lesson from it. Thanks for being here today. Over and out.